In the lesson number 8, work package and activities in Primavera P6, up to now we discussed how to define activity in Primavera P6, how to define the resource, how to assign this resource to the activity. Now what we will do, we will discuss here the activity types. So what is actually the activity types and from where we will get the access of these activity types in Primavera P6. So if you select any activity in Primavera P6 and from the activity detail window, if you click general, in general we have here activity types. So activity types, here we have number of activity types, so you can keep any type for the activity based on your requirement. Here we have milestone, finish milestone, level of effort, resource dependent, start milestone, task dependent, and WBS summary. These are the activity types, but it depends on the condition of the activity. So based on the condition of activity, you can define the type of activity from here. You can select the type of activity from the list. So first of all, we will start with the task dependent activity type. So task dependent activity is an activity which use activity calendar. So this activity, as we discussed before, that every activity, if you see here from general, general we have here activity calendar. So task dependent activity will use this calendar to calculate the start and finish date. So for any activity, as we discussed before, that we have duration and then start and finish date. So to calculate the start and finish date of the task dependent activity, the activity will use activity calendar which is assigned to this activity. This type of activity is not dependent on any resource calendar. So this activity will not depend on any resource calendar. So even if you assign one or more resources to this activity, start and finish date will be calculated from the activity calendar. So as we know that if there is an activity in Primavera P6, most probably we will assign number of resources to the activities. Here if we see excavation, we assign only excavator, but there will be manpower required, labor will be required for this activity also, and some skilled and unskilled labor will be there, and there will be other equipment also which we have to assign to this activity. So for all these resources, maybe there will be the chances that the calendar for each and every resource will be different. But in case of task dependent activity, the activity will only and only use the activity calendar for the calculation of start and finish date. Next is resource dependent activity. A resource dependent activity is an activity, as it's clear from the name also, that it is an activity which use the resource calendar to calculate start and finish date of activity. Activity calendar will not be used unless there is no resource assigned to that activity. So for the resource dependent activity, the start and finish date will be calculated based on the calendar assigned to that resource. Activity calendar will not be used unless there is no resource assigned to that activity. If there is no resource assigned to that activity, then Primavera will calculate the duration, the start and finish date for that activity based on the activity calendar. In case there is more than one resource assigned to a resource dependent activity, the primary resource calendar will be used in calculation. So as it's written here, that if we have more than one resource assigned to an activity, then the start and finish date will be calculated based on the primary resource calendar. So in the Primavera, if we visit our resources, because we have here one resource which is excavator. So if we visit here our resources, this is our resource window, we have here resource excavator, and if we see here, we have the calendar assigned to this resource as excavator. This calendar was created only for this excavator. So if you visit enterprise and then calendar and then resources, and as this calendar is assigned to this resource, if you open this calendar by clicking modify, see here this resource is available from Sunday to Thursday, and Friday and Saturday is non-working day, and the working hours for this resource is 8 per day. I'll click OK. Now what we will do, we will visit global, and this RWP01 is the calendar which is assigned to the activities. If you see here in the activity calendar, we have 6 working days starting from Sunday and finish on Friday. Saturday is non-working day, and the working hours for this calendar is 10 per day. So there is a difference between both these calendars. Now what I will do, I will go again to my activity window, and from here also I can click activity. Now what I will do, if you see here, this excavation activity will start from 14 August, and the duration for this activity is 7 days, and the finish date for this activity is 21st August. Now what I will do, I will go to general, and from here I will change now this activity to resource dependent. And if you see here now, the activity is starting date is 14 August still, but the finish date is now, instead of 21st August, it will move to 24 August, and the duration is now increased from 7 days to 10 days. Because if you see here, the calendar for this resource which we assign here to this activity, the calendar for this is 8-hour calendar, and the working days for this resource is 5 days only. And for the activity, as we discussed before, that the calendar assigned to the activities are 10 hours, and the working days is 6 days per week. So see, now by changing the calendar, the activity type to resource dependent, the finish date will change, and the duration will also change. Similarly, for the pipeline, if I change this to resource dependent, again see, now duration is increased and the finish date is also changed. Similarly, I will change for the backfilling also. So see, now also backfilling is changed. Now what I will do, I will schedule the program again by clicking F9, and I will run the program on 14 August. So see, now the completion dates are now based on the resource dependent activity. Here we keep the activity type as resource dependent. Okay, if we visit here the resource usage spreadsheet, see, now this is the resource and this is the open project resource display. I will change this to, I will visit here time scale, and I will change the data interval from month, week, as here we have the weeks. I will change this to days. So what I will do, weekday 1, I will click here and I will click apply and OK. So now if you see here, this resource for the excavator, we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Up to Thursday the resource is available, and on Friday and Saturday the resource is not available. And here actual unit, once we start actualizing the program, then we will this actual will start displaying here. And similarly, remaining earlier unit and over allocated earlier units means that if the resource we assign to any activity is exceeding the limit, then the units which we assign to the activity will be over allocated. So this is actually the resource spreadsheet. Now one thing I will do further, I will go to again to this activity detail window. Okay, so here I will go to the resources, and now I will change the remaining unit per time to, for example, 4 per day. And now I will reschedule this program again, and now I will go again to the resource usage spreadsheet. Okay, and here for excavation we'll make this 4, and for the pipeline I will also make this as 4 per day. And one thing I will do more, I will go to my resources, and in the resources I will go to units and prices, and here I will revise this, because we have here maximum unit per time is 8, which is very huge. Maximum unit per time is actually the availability of the excavators. So we have the maximum unit available is 8 per day, which is huge. Usually in the projects, maximum for one utility, the maximum resources available will be 2 or 3. So here I will keep 3. Now in the activity window I will run the program again, F9, and I will schedule it. Now we visit the resource spreadsheet. See, now here we have over allocated earlier units. What it means that we have assigned the resources here to the activity which is more than the maximum available resources. So these all things we will discuss later on, but our main discussion actually the difference between the resource dependent and task dependent activities. So now I will change again this to task dependent, and this one again I will change it to task dependent, and backfilling again to task dependent, and I will run the program again. See the durations and the dates are changed now. I will run the program again. Okay, now next is start milestone. What is start milestone? Start milestone is a type of activity which represent the start of a major event. So this milestone is actually, it will represent a start of any milestone or any project. For example, we have to start the program, as here in the program we have the start date as 14 August. So we can keep an activity here in the program as a start milestone. Start milestone has only start date. So for the start milestone, there will be only start date and it has no finish date, and there will be no finish date for the start milestone activity, and the duration of start milestone is 0, and the duration for this will be 0. So how to define start milestone activity? Contract milestone. In contract milestone, first of all we have to assign an activity. So by clicking insert, see, and here I will write here start, activity name as start, and here now I will change the see here for this activity, as this is task dependent, so we have the start and finish date. Now what I will do, I will change this to start milestone. So now if you see here, the duration is 0 and we have only start date. Now what I will do, I will link this start milestone activity to our first activity of the project, which here at the current scenario is activation. So I will select both these activities and I will right click, and here I will click link activities. So if you see here now, by clicking this activity and if you go to relationship, we have the successor of the start is activation. Now what I will do, I will run the program again by clicking F9 schedule. See now, start milestone is 14 and activation is also starting from 14. So what is clear from here, that the duration for this milestone activity will be 0. It will only represent an event. And if you visit the Gantt chart, we don't have the Gantt chart here. See now, if you see the Gantt chart, this is actually our Gantt chart, and the start activity, this is actually the symbol for the milestone. So if you see the difference between the task dependent activity and the start milestone, there is huge difference. For the milestone, this will be only a dot, and for the task dependent, there will be a specific duration. Okay, next is finish milestone. Finish milestone is also a type of activity which represent the finish of some major event. So like start milestone, finish milestone will represent the finish of any event or a project. For example, finish of the project, finish milestone has only finish date and it has no start date and duration, and the duration for finish milestone is 0. So for the finish milestone, as it's written here, that only finish date will be there for the finish milestone, and there will be no start date, and similarly the duration for finish milestone will also be 0. So now what we will do in the Primavera, we will define finish milestone. I will click here insert again to add another activity, and here I will write finish. Now what I will do, I will go to general and I will change this activity type to finish milestone, and now I will run the program by clicking F9. See now, similarly as like start milestone, finish milestone is also one event, and the duration is 0, and start, there will be no start, and finish will be there. Now usually what we will do, we will link our last activity with the finish milestone. So I will select first the last activity, and then I will select the finish milestone and I will link it. So if you click now finish milestone and go to relationship, finish milestone have only predecessor, and the start milestone will usually be have successor, because start milestone will be the first activity of the project and finish milestone will be the last activity of the project. So now if you see here, the backfilling is will be finished on 29, and here if you see the finish date for the finish milestone is 14 August. So now if I run the program, because the program path is not calculated, so I have to run the program again to calculate the path for the program. So see now, the start milestone is showing the start date of the project as 14 August, because the first activity is starting on 14 August and the last activity will finish on 29 August. So finish milestone is representing the finish date of the project. So basically the milestone we are using for the start and finish of to represent the start and finish dates of major events or projects. Okay, next we have level of effort. Level of effort activity. There are activities in schedule whose duration is depend on some other activities, i.e. project management activities start as the project is started and finish when the project is finished. Just link the activity with the start and finish milestone and assign 7 days calendar if you want to calculate the calendar days. So there are certain activities like, for example, project management activities, those who are working in a project office to work on the design, the planning team who is working in a project in the office. So these are basically the indirect activities in the program. So these activity we can assign as a level of effort. The level of effort activity will actually start from when the project start and it will finish when the project finish. So what we will do, we will link the level of effort activity to the start milestone and the finish milestone, just to calculate and it will give us the total duration of the project. But one thing more which is important here, which I skip here to write, is that level of effort activity will update the progress by their own. So there is no need to update the progress on this activity. It will recalculate the progress based on the duration. So what we will do now in the Primavera, after start I will insert one activity and here I will write the name as project. And now what I will do, I will link this activity with the start. I will link activity. So now if you click the project management, this predecessor for this activity is start of the project, and now I will link this activity to the finish of the project, and I have to define the start as a predecessor and finish as a successor. And both of these activities, as we know, that start and finish have zero duration, so there will be no impact of the start and finish milestone on this activity. So I will link this. So if you click now on the project management activity, we have the predecessor for this activity is start milestone and finish milestone. If you see now here, the project is started on 14th August and it will finish on 29 August, but the project management activity is starting on 4 August and it will finish on 17 August. But if you see here from general, activity type is task dependent. Now I will change this to level of effort activity. And now what I will do, I will run the project again. I will schedule it. So now if you see here, this project management activity by default is starting on 14 and it will finish on 29. So this is actually one activity for which the duration for this activity is the entire duration of the project, which is here. See, if you see here, the original duration is 14 days and the project management activity have also 14 days duration. But the benefit for this project management activity is, if you want to keep any management activity in the project, so all the management activity will be throughout the project. So, and if you want to allocate the management resources to this project, then you can define project management activities and you can assign all the management staff to this activity. But these all things depend on the requirement of the project. Okay, the last activity type is WBS Summary. WBS Summary is activity type, is a type of activity which shows summary of all the activities in WBS band. So this activity type will give us the summary of all the activities in our WBS. You don't have to give any relationship to this activity type, so it will give us the summary for the overall all the WBS. And the advantage of this activity is there is no requirement of defining the relationship of this activity with any other activity. It means that the successor and the predecessor for this activity is not required. It will automatically calculate the summary date. So it will also calculate automatically the summary dates from the WBS band. WBS band also show the summary of the activities. WBS will also show the summary of the activity, but the difference is that you can assign the resource to WBS summary. But the difference between the WBS and the WBS summary activity is you can assign any resource to this activity. This will help when you don't have the estimate of activity, but you have the estimate for the whole work package. For example, we have now here one WBS, which is work package 1. If you see here, the total duration for this WBS is 14 days and it is starting from 14 August and finish on 29 August, and we have 3 activities. So this is actually the summary. But if you don't have the total estimate, if you don't have the estimate for each activity, for example, if you don't have the cost for excavation and the cost for the pipeline and similarly the cost for the backfilling, then And if you have the cost for this work package 01, then what you will do, you have to simply define an activity here, and here you can write the name as SUMMARY summary. And now just change the activity type to, from general, go to activity type and change it to WBS summary. And now run the program function F9 and schedule it on 14. So if you see here now, summary activity have 14 days duration, same like WBS, and it will start from 14 and it will finish on 29. So this is the advantage of the important thing is here you can assign resource to this summary, the WBS summary activity. So I can define activity resource here, and this same excavator I will assign to this. So see, now it is taking the budget unit as 14 because we define here that the budget unit per time, remaining unit per time, and budget unit per time at the beginning of the project. If the project when the project is not started, remaining unit per time and budget unit per time will be equal. So here we have the remaining unit per time as 1. So budget unit per time, budget unit, how it will calculate, it will multiply remaining unit per time with duration and it will calculate the total budget unit as 14 days. So this actually the summary, or if you want to assign the cost to this WBS total work package, so you can simply define a resource for the cost and you can assign to the summary, and it will give us the total cost of this work package. Okay, so that's it for today regarding activity types. This lesson number 8, work package and activities, we will wind up here and we will start lesson number 9 for the upcoming types, like for the duration types and percent complete. This we will discuss in upcoming lesson. And one thing more here which we discuss here, primary resource. If you see here, we have here a column or a window for primary resource, but here this box is empty. So if you have more than one resource assigned to this activity, then there will be one primary resource. So as we discussed before, in the case of resource dependent activity, the duration of the activity will be calculated based on the primary resource if we have more than one resource assigned to this activity. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.